Welcome everyone. I'm just going to do a bit of a quick intro. So about who we are, who I am, and then obviously there's going to be other people from, as Rachel's indicated, from the Disability Working Group contributing to the conversations. We hope you find it insightful. Just to re-emphasize Rachel's point, please do feel free to put loads of questions if you want on the chat, and then any questions you might have, and then we'll try and kind of answer them all towards the end. So just a little bit about us, in case for those of you that don't know, in the Pension Protection Fund, basically we got set up in 2004. We predominantly exist just to help members that are part of a defined benefit pension where it becomes insolvent. So, you know, as you can imagine, this crosses all of the UK. So the actual kind of members that we protect are quite diverse. You know, we have of every kind of religion, disability, location, because it's up and down the UK. Our business is made up of multiple kind of services, and we're really kind of free of our core services, our levy, our investment, and especially the prominent one is our scheme of member services, which is the front end. So that's just a little bit about us. I'm the actual Chief Technology Officer for the PPF. I'm the Senior Executive Sponsor for the Disability Working Group. And I always say it is an absolute privilege to kind of be associated with such a group that's really important to us as a business around delivering equality across every faction. But for us, and we're going to touch on this later on, why did we choose disability as a key strand? And we got three key strands that we work with within the PPF around our diversity and inclusion, and disability is one of them. This is a kind of a joint decision discussion with our board, who are very heavily involved in our D&I commitment, and they were predominant decision makers as to where we wanted to focus on. After the decision at the board level was made to make disability an area of focus, we kind of naturally gravitated towards using some of the informal networks we had, and obviously we've got partnerships such as with Work With Me. We've been engaging in terms of through our HR partners around external kind of businesses, and partnerships within central government to kind of see what they've been doing as well. We had a lot of people that were really interested in supporting us in this way around, kind of really raising disability to the forefront, and also for everyone. We don't, kind of like many people, we define disability as those that are physical but also unseen, and we talk about long-term illnesses as well, because that's also an impact to people within the PPF. It also means the reason we also chose disability as a strand is because, as I indicated before, our members are quite diverse. So we have members that potentially are disabled, whether that's through non-visible or physical, and so therefore it makes us much more in tune and kind of engaged with our members as well, and hence why again we chose disability as one of our key strands. I know, Angela, if you want to kind of add anything else from your perspective.
Yeah, so I joined the group probably about 2 months ago now, and I was involved in other strands of our D&I strategy. But yeah, I'm finding we've done quite a lot over the time period, and I'll go through the timeline in a moment. So, which I can do now if you want to. If Isabella, if you can put up the timeline.
Yep, just bear with me a second, sorry. So tell me when you can see my screen. I'm just having some technical. Okay, there you go. Can everybody see it?
Yeah, thanks, Isabella.
No problem.
So our journey actually started right at the beginning, when we started actually in 2005, where we joined the guaranteed interview scheme. And we've been applying reasonable adjustments ever since. For those of you who don't know, the guaranteed interview scheme was set up by the Job Centre Plus at that time to ensure that anyone with a disability was guaranteed an interview if they met the minimum criteria. That actually changed in 2018, and in February we became a disability confident employer, and that replaced it. And then in June 2018 we decided to focus on disability. As Simon said, that was part of a key strand for us. And if you don't know, our strategy, diversity and inclusion strategy, is on our website if anyone's interested in having a look at the whole thing. And we partly set it up to increase representation across the PPF and to continue our journey in supporting disabled candidates throughout the recruitment process and with onboarding, and also to support our employees with long-term health conditions and disabilities as well. We then, in September 2018, we joined our local Disability Confident Action Group, which is based in Croydon, where all Croydon employers come together. And then our HR director, Sue Hall, who became the group's vice chair in July 2019, and that's still going, and we're still part of that group. And then in October, that's when we initially set up the Disability Working Group. We decided to link with people across the PPF because some of them had already had involvement in our work with disability areas. So for example, Mind and Dementia Friends, so some of our DWG group members are part of those. But we also needed some senior support and sponsorship to really make up that difference. So it's always worth getting senior involvement. And then in November, we attended our first reverse recruitment job fair, which was really exciting. And that was arranged by the Disability Confident Action Group. And that allowed us to, or allowed candidates with disabilities to have the opportunity to be approached by employers to discuss their skill set and look at possible career opportunities for those individuals. And then between April 2019 and July 2019, we then commissioned an independent review for our recruitment processes. A company called Clear Company made recommendations on how to be more inclusive at all stages of the recruitment process and the onboarding process as well. Many of these have been implemented, including line manager reasonable adjustments, which we've just set out. And also inclusive interview training, which we rolled out to our managers that were interviewing. Other actions will take a bit more time, and one thing we are currently working on is inclusive job design. So that's where we'll be reviewing all the job descriptions to make them more accessible to all internal and external applicants, including those with a disability. We also in 2019 linked with Croydon Works, which was a local organisation which helps us widen our talent pool for potential candidates. And then in July also we had Simon, who joined the team. So he joined the Disability Working Group as chief sponsor. And at that point we decided that we would define our objectives and also terms of reference. And then finally, in October 2020, we achieved our Disability Confident Leader accreditation, which was great for us, great for the business, and great to look at the work that we've actually done throughout the years and the things that we're going to do going forward as well. So, yeah. Next slide.
I think while that's loading up, it's worth saying that it does sound like I made it really formal in terms of reference there. It wasn't that we wanted to kind of fully formalize it, but what we wanted to do is kind of set kind of with the disability working group members, set what we believe were objectives we should be aiming for, and just kind of give the group a bit of a purpose, and also a little bit, and we'll touch upon this around challenges. It's just kind of to kind of qualify and explain and demonstrate the kind of the value of this group alongside other kind of D&I groups of making an improvement as an organization. So I think in terms of references, I think it's quite important to give kind of a purpose and a drive to a group. But again, the important thing there around that terms of reference, though it was structured by everyone within that group. Everyone had a contribution. What is it that they felt was going to be a success? What would define the identity of the working group? And that's what makes it successful, because everybody is kind of part of that. It's not a top-down kind of delivery. I thought I'd put that in because I know it sounded like very formal. I'm not the most formal person.
And also the group have been involved in a lot of other stuff. So when we talked about the reasonable adjustments guidelines, they did have input. So we had input from the whole group on that. It wasn't just something that was rolled out by HR. So they are quite integral to some of this stuff that we're working on and some of the activities and initiatives that we're doing as well.
And also just to add, Angela, with the reverse recruitment fair, I know that we recruited a couple of people from it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was also something.
Yeah.
So did you want me to show the stats now?
Yes, if you show the stat, and I'll just quickly go through that.
Sure.
Okay. So can everyone see that? Yeah. So this stat that we can see is actually also in our D&I strategy paper, and this is around disability. So last year we asked our employees to include their sensitive data onto our HR system. And these are the results that we received. So 353 people, as you can see, which is 84% of our total employees, answered the question as to whether they had a long-term health condition or considered themselves disabled. And we had 10 people declare that they were disabled, but 4 people declared that they had a long-term medical condition or considered they had a long-term medical condition. We're hoping that if we were to run this process again, we'd have a higher figure. And also we've also, as Isabella said, we have recruited more people since then, and we're doing so in the future. And we're moving the dial quite a lot as well. Our recruitment team, which Gary is a part of, and I think Sean's on as well, they are helping to drive some of this through their recruitment processes and giving more accessibility to interviews and recruitment. So, yeah.
It's quite a nice segue into the challenges piece, actually. To call on this, a big challenge is always data and kind of trying to reassure people as to why the data is being collected and what its usage is for. And I think I share the optimism that Angela has, because we've done a big massive communication to the whole of the PPF to explain why we need the data and what it's there for. It's not for anything else other than to try and improve what we're doing and to become a better employer and to offer better opportunities. One of the bits as well that we're looking at, we've done reasonable adjustments from a work placement perspective. Obviously, everyone's working from home at the moment, so we do operate flexible working anyway prior to the whole COVID situation. But I would say probably one of our biggest challenges has always been that data collection, has been that information and ability to be able to kind of look at what people are saying and to kind of adjust accordingly and be able to offer support. We do our iCare values that we kind of live by at the PPF, that we do have a very strong speak up culture, and we do encourage within the groups, within line management, to have that discussion around challenges that people may have. To the point I was saying before, the non-visible disabilities, unless you create a safe forum and a speak up culture, is very difficult to kind of ascertain or capture unless that engagement is provided. So hence why I think the data and people declaring that, and why we say as well, it's not just about disability, it's about long-term illness. And we're going to hear from a couple of the DWG members where they've, in their own words, and the kind of the accounts and what they've actually done, demonstrates the value and the impact it's had, the positive ripple effect it's had on the rest of the PPF, and how it's encouraged others to be, find that voice and find the strength to be able to kind of articulate the challenges they've got. And again, it means that we can then, as an employer who wants to have an equality that for everybody, we can then adjust what we needed to do. Kind of on that point, I think it's just going to kind of, again, just to reemphasize, if anybody's got any questions, do feel free to post them in the chat. And we will kind of we will pick them up. I think, Rachel, correct if I'm wrong, we're going to probably pick up the questions at the end, or do you want us to kind of do them in between?
So if people are happy for their questions to be on the recording, I'm fine for it to happen throughout. But if you did want that safe space, then we can wait to the end. Yeah. So we've got one question through, and I don't know if they're happy for it to be asked. They've put it through to everyone, so we can read it out.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to pick Simon.
Yeah, do you want me to? Okay, so Elaine, thanks for the question. How do you fund reasonable adjustment? Is it all through access to work or local funding? Is there a central pot? Do you know before employing someone exactly what they will need if appropriate? So it's probably a few questions there.
There's a few questions there, yeah.
I'll try and answer them all, but please, there are some here that something like, Angela or Gary will be able to kind of like contribute to. In terms of how do we fund the reasonable adjustment, we, as I said before, the PPF is committed to quality and doing what it can. We do have obviously the access to work, but we also do, because of our nature of how we exist as an organisation, we have a little bit of an independence from central government. So we actually kind of self-fund to a certain extent, but we're not meant to be, we're a non-profit. But what we do then is actually push kind of financing towards that. So the CEO, the board, and everybody's very kind of receptive to kind of those changes. So we don't use access to work exclusively. We do supplement it with internal kind of funding. And what we do is just, associate it with the DNI. So strategy and the disability working kind of groups purpose. Again, that's why the terms of reference and what we're looking to do and achieve. But that's why it's important, as was indicated before by Angela, to have senior stakeholders involved and properly engaged, and they understand the role they have to play, which is the commitment really from a financial perspective, because adjustments do kind of have to kind of cost money, and and we want to do that. In terms of the and kind of hopefully that answers the kind of a central pot. Is there a central pot? There is, in terms of allocation for each section, and it's a case of presented in terms of what its value and what we're looking to achieve to Exco and to our board. Do you know before employing someone exactly what they will do? I'm going to hand over to Gary. He's come off and he'll be able to explain to you in terms of our recruitment process.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah, so basically in the recruitment process, once we have offered someone, we have got a medical questionnaire that we ask future employees to complete. Now, we worked with our disability working group to make sure that the wording we used was actually encouraging people to complete the questionnaire, and we didn't want it to be a long form or anything like that. So it's only actually got 2 questions on it around the disabilities and health conditions, and if reasonable adjustments are required or not from that individual. Once we've received that back, then from a recruitment point of view, I liaise with one of our HR advisors, who will then be in touch with not only the line manager, but the individual who will be joining us, to make sure everything's arranged, ready for them for when they do start with the PPF. And then once they're in situ, that will be an ongoing conversation between the 3 of them to make sure that the reasonable adjustments are in place are adequate and continued support is in place. So we do have quite a robust process in place to cover that.
And Elaine, on that bit as well, as a follow-up in terms from the HR perspective, and we're going to hear from DW and Sarah as one of our line managers, we do then have that continued kind of engagement and review. So it's not just about the onboarding, it's that continued kind of like life of the person at the PPF, and that continued kind of working through what's required. On the question from Sarah or Sarah, not too sure, there's 2 different pronunciations, so hopefully I've got it right that way. In terms of what's the most common reasonable adjustment, actually, there's been quite a few, I would say. We've got some around the physical access to the building, which is what we're adjusting. We've got things around flexible working in terms of transport and kind of timings. So we work with people on that. There's also around kind of software. So we've had just recently somebody that's joined us that expressed the kind of requirement to have software that would help with their dyslexia and everything else. And so we provision that. So I would say that's probably the 3 kind of most kind of comments about timing, coming in, delay start, working from home. So that kind of flexible working, the working around, the kind of the access to the building. And then I would say software in terms of facilitating, but probably the 3 I would say the most.
Yeah, I agree with that. There was a question about what stage of the process do you tend to ask about the need for reasonable adjustments. Well, that starts right at the beginning, before they come in for interview. So if they say that they've got a medical condition or a long-term disability, then we do work with them to make those adjustments within the interview process, or the building, if it's in the building, not that we're in the building at the moment. And we make sure that we make it a seamless service for them.
I think to add to that, one of the key things we try and do with reasonable adjustments is make it a golden thread from the point of advertising a role through to interviewing, through to when someone starts, and then beyond once they're an employee. So it's a continuous thing that we do, and we do put on our adverts that we will provide reasonable adjustments throughout the whole process. So it's key to showcase that we are an employer that will support anybody throughout the whole process, and once they are an employee as well.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. It's about the whole life of when they come on, as well as when the whole life that they're at the PPF, and so that continuous engagement between the line managers and HR is so key to kind of make sure that we review the reasonable adjustments, because reasonable adjustments can shift, circumstances can change for somebody. So it's a never kind of constant conversation, and that's what I mean about the iCare values around our speak up and encourage that engagement, so that we will adjust those as they require. So just going to, we actually did the DWG members, some of our DWG members who range from contact center team leader, Sarah, Margot, who's our corporate secretariat assistant, Georgie, who is our electronic document administrator, and Donna, who's our senior pensions administrator, and Sean, our recruitment partner, have all kind of kindly given up their time to kind of do a video around the disability working group, why they joined it, what it's meant to them, how it's helped, and what it's meant to kind of people they kind of support. So I'm just going to hand over to Isabella just to play it. It's not a long one, so don't worry.
You should be able to see it now.
I joined the DWG because I wanted to be a better manager. I wanted to understand how different disabilities affect people's learning and communication preferences. I also wanted to improve how disabilities are communicated between HR and line managers so that I could better support my team.
To better understand the challenges creating barriers for those with disabilities, it's vital for new ideas and creativity through diversity that our workforce is truly representative of our members. Being better informed, we can make provisions and adaptations for those who need them.
The DWG has been an invaluable source of support and advice during this really difficult year. The kindness that I have received has allowed me to fill my role with confidence.
We've seen a really big impact in recruitment in the contact centre, with applicants for a contact centre advisor role who had a disability and went through to interview, increasing to 37%. Also, the Reasonable Adjustments Manager Guidelines have been a really helpful resource, and the webinar I attended around managing anxiety and mental well-being when planning a return to the office will be very helpful when we do eventually return to the office.
Be more confident in letting people know that I have a disability. I've been able to provide reassurance to others that may be in the same position as me that it isn't something to be ashamed of.
The DWG has opened up a really important conversation about inclusion and neurodiversity and has allowed me to talk about my disability and help educate others.
We've made great progress with reasonable adjustments this year. Not only did we win a Best Candidate Experience Award at the Recruitment Industry Disability Initiatives, but we also achieved Disability Confident Leader status, and no doubt there's plenty more to come.
So thank you to all those that did that. Yeah, Emma, sorry, it's kind of bit of a how can I put it? I wouldn't say it's like Cannes or a first showing or a Palme d'Or, but it's the first showing that we're doing. So the closed captions will be added to the video before it gets published externally or on our website. So hence why we're just doing the closed captions for yourself within Zoom, but it will have closed captions when it gets distributed. So yeah, without further ado, I was going to hand over to Angela because we were going to actually
we're going to do a poll.
Yes.
So the poll is anonymous. There's only a couple of questions that we want to ask you, and it's about setting up your own DWG or Disability Working Group. So I think Isabella's going to start the poll. Is disability seen as a priority for your company right now? So if you answer the question, and then we'll see what that comes out as.
So we've had about 19 people responding out of 27, maybe a few more seconds. 22. Let's give it a couple more seconds. Okay. Shall I end the polling?
Yeah. Okay, so 82% have said yes. Well, that's really good. That's a good start.
Yes, definitely.
There's probably a couple of people that have said partly. Those people that have said partly, is there a reason for saying partly? You can put your answer in the chat if you want to.
There's also one person.
And one said no.
No.
So 5% is one. No, okay, so we'll close that one. We'll show the second one. And this is about barriers or challenges to setting up a group. So what are the main barriers on your disability approach so far, or biggest challenges in that area?
Few more seconds. Yeah, I think we got it.
Okay, brilliant. You want to share the results? Okay, so 57 have said no barriers. Some people have said not enough buy-in from senior managers or not enough time and don't know where to start. For those that have said don't know where to start, you know, just to let you know, our door is open. If you want to get in touch with us, we're more than happy to talk you through how we started and what support you might need to do that, to enable you to do that, or even how to get executive sponsorship on it, because it is important to have that executive sponsor to help drive it forward, as well as all the DWG members. So yeah. Is there any other comments on that?
I mean, I'd throw on the not enough time. I think there is a situation for a lot of kind of organisations from work with me as well as other you know, kind of companies and my network. Obviously, it does need to have a dedicated kind of approach, and we're very lucky we've got buy-in from senior managers to the first point, and we have dedicated teams like Isabella and the HR strand, you know, in terms of this. But it is important that it can't be a by the desk side of the desk activity, because it does water it down or completely devalue. So I do hear that, and I think it's, I suppose the first two kind of interlink is just how to present and show what the value would be, and what we as an organization would miss out on the actual kind of great talent pool that's available from there for not addressing something, you know, an inequality or something like disability, and trying to welcome people from that particular pool, because you know, we will miss out. And I think that's the big kind of message for management. But I suppose the question I would ask the people, do you feel that in terms of the not enough buy-in from senior managers and not enough time, is it more prevalent now as a consequence of COVID and the circumstances, as it always has it been there for your organizations? That's quite a big thing, because then that's a cultural component, I suppose, is that, as Angela's alluded to, how we overcame that and what we did. We'll be happy to kind of assist anybody on that particular point, or tell you our stories. And actually that kind of is a good segue into the next bit that we were going to go on about, which was You know, we've got some kind of very willing volunteers, which is great. Appreciate that they're kind of wanting to share their stories. I'm going to ask Angela if she doesn't mind just to kind of to lead into this one, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine, Simon. So we've got a few members of our, as Simon just alluded to, DWG, that are going to share their stories, what it's like being part of the group, what it means to them and how it's helped them. So I think the first person to talk is Donna.
Hello everyone. I've been with the PPF 4 years now, just coming up, and I am a registered disabled person myself. I've got an illness which means that mobility is restricted for me, and the PPF has arranged that I've got somewhere where I drive to work every day, I can park, so that I don't have to worry that I'm going to fall over on the way into work or struggle to get in at all. And I also have a plan in place in case of emergency evacuation from the building. There's something that in place that I can leave safely, so I don't have that worry as well. Being part of the group has meant that I've been involved in any decisions and new things that have come up, and it's also given me the confidence to provide reassurance to people that may be in the same position as me, that it's not something to be scared of or to have to hide from others. It's something that you can share with others, and there are people that are actually interested, and which is new to me because I came from a very antiquated company before, and it was something to hide. You didn't tell anybody that you had a disability or you had anything that might mean you need extra help. So being part of this group has enabled me to assure others and gain reassurance for myself.
Thanks, Donna. I think Matty's going next.
Thanks, guys. Yes, I'm Matty. I'm a part of the contact centre at the PPF, and I've been here for 2 years now. I've got a condition called ulcerative colitis, so it's an inflammatory bowel disease where it doesn't show symptoms. So you would look at me and not know that I suffer sort of daily with the strains that I go through. Of late, the last 6 months, it started to affect my liver. So although I've got liver issues, it all stems from the inflammatory bowel disease itself. So the support I get at the PPF is incredible, because I could go to bed one evening and be absolutely fine, and I could wake up the next day and be in the worst condition I've been in for about a year. It is so unpredictable, and the fact that my line managers know how unpredictable it is allows me to call them that day to say I can't come in today, and they'll be absolutely fine with it. With the disability working group, I felt compelled to join because of how well I've been treated by the PPF. I wanted other people who don't necessarily know that they can open up to be able to open up, and that is massive, because again, as Simon said earlier, having a disability isn't always visible. So I go to the gym, I jog literally 3K every day. So I'm physically healthy, but internally, there's so much more that goes on that people just don't see. And that whole culture needs to change. And again, signs on toilets saying not every disability is visible is another one, which gives people an idea that if you're coming out of a disabled toilet walking, you might need to use it. So yeah, I really appreciate the group, and it gives me a chance to open up about everything and listen to other people as well.
Thanks, Matty. Thanks for being so honest as well.
Yeah, it's again, it's something I'm proud of. So it's as stupid as it sounds, I would never change my illness now, because I think it's made me fitter. It's made my outlook on life a lot better, and it's made me, yeah, just a more confident person and just to enjoy life. Because again, tomorrow I could have the worst day I've had, so I'm going to enjoy the good days that I've got today.
Thank you. I think Sarah's next, and she's going to talk about what it's like from a line manager perspective, as well as being part of the DWG group.
Hi everybody. Yeah, my name's Sarah. I'm a team leader in the contact centre, which I've been there for quite a few years now. And I think I was originally a member of, we had something called a vulnerable members group in our directorate, and I got heavily involved in training for around dementia. So when the disability working group was set up, it seemed like an obvious sort of connection there, that, you know, as well as thinking about our members, we're also thinking about our employees. And I've actually just found the whole experience amazing, actually. I've learned so much, and I continue to learn, you know, every day. And really, it's for me. I mean, I don't have a disability myself, but I obviously manage people that do, or they have health conditions. So having just knowledge is key, really. So, and the support that we get. So we fairly recently prepared some reasonable adjustments manager guidelines for managers. So there is a point of reference. So they have things like top tips, and, you know, where I can get extra help and resource from, whether that's internally or externally. So those sort of things are really helpful. And I guess the eureka moment for me that stands out most for being in the DWG is when I attended just like an informal chat. It was hosted by HSBC, actually, and there was 3 key speakers who all had disabilities. And the thing that really stood out for me was that although they had very positive experiences with their current employers, they all said they would still feel very nervous about disclosing a disability if they were to, you know, need to apply for a job somewhere else, which really made me think about it's not what we do, it's how we show that we mean what we say. So having the changes we've made to our recruitment sort of process, the review that we did, I've seen really big improvements in the number of applications that have come through with people with disabilities, which is really, really encouraging. And then, of course, it's then my job as a manager to support those people when we do employ them through their training programs. So again, the manager guidelines comes in really well. So for me, it's key to talk on a regular basis, to have open conversations. Through the training period, they sort of problems might arise that they'd not thought of, I hadn't thought of it. So it's about addressing those problems at an early stage and giving them as much support as they need. Yes, I think that's probably about it from me. And the only thing I would like to add is about the senior management sponsorship. I joined the DWG when we didn't have that level of sponsorship. It was just a newly started group, and having Simon on board, and it has made a huge difference, because I think when you talk about time, we're all really up against it when it comes to time. But if you have to attend a meeting and you say, oh, it's because it's the disability working group, suddenly it doesn't matter anymore, because people know that it's such a big priority for the organisation that we can make time. And I think that's really key. It does really help you be able to do the things that you want to do, because they're so important, and you know that the business recognises that.
Thanks,
That's
Sarah.
it from me.
Thanks, Sarah. I think finally it's over to Paul. I think you're on mute, Paul.
That's a good start. I'm in a similar position to Matty. Whilst Matty has ulcerative colitis, I have Crohn's disease. Both of the sort of top inflammatory bowel diseases out there. So I know exactly where Matty's coming from in respect of his needs. And, you know, every day it's a case of you get up in the morning feeling okay, and within a matter of an hour or so you know you can be in an awful lot of pain. It just jumps up on you and comes from nowhere. I currently have a good understanding managers in my directorate, so you know they're very supportive if I do have issues myself, if I'm feeling a bit under the weather. My immediate line manager's constantly telling me to take time off if I say to her I'm not feeling too great in the morning. But generally, I know with the way I manage my condition, you know, I can be bad for an hour or so, and it will sort of sort itself out eventually. So PPF has been very supportive. I have regular infusions at the local hospital, 8 weekly infusions. So, you know, taking the time off for hospital appointments has never been a problem. I joined the disability working group, you know, to find out, you know, possibly in a selfish way, find out what's available to people with invisible disabilities, but also to get a handle for, you know, experiences from people with other disabilities. You know, my wife is deaf and she runs her own business quite successfully, but it's, you know, it's been useful to help sort of out of the PPF as well as within the PPF.
Thanks, Paul.
That was something that I have learnt today, is that Zoom's got closed captions. And as my wife attends a lot of Zoom meetings through business and through her CPD, it's something I know she wasn't aware of.
Oh, that's good. Right, I think that's it with the people sharing stories. I think we're over to questions now.
Yeah, I think before we go now, I just want to say a big thank you to the group for their honest and you know, kind of sincere kind of self accounts. Is, I have to say again, it's to re-emphasize the privilege to actually be even asked to, and to be part of this group, and to kind of be able to help in where help can help. But it's always moving and great when you get people who give their own self account, because it just does put things into perspective of the different challenges people have. And you know, it's what we should all be kind of like much more emotionally aware and intelligent in terms of as people, as organizations, to those challenges. So a big thank you to the group for feeling, you know, brave and be able to express themselves.